What was your focus this offseason?
Just to improve, get better, just to kind of reestablish the value that I bring to this team, not only just on the field, but in the locker room, in the community, and just being able to put my best foot forward going into the season.
Last year for you overall, just everything that happened.
Yeah, it was tough. It was definitely tough. Arguably, I think it was probably my hardest year that I had to, for my career and everything, just with the adversity, moving cities, new team, new environment. Obviously, losing Aaron was pretty detrimental for the team and everything, and playing alongside him the past 4 seasons and stuff, and then trying to figure out how I can still remain successful and bringing the team, being my best self out there for the team and everything. There's a lot of challenges and stuff, but ultimately I think I learned a lot about myself and just things I can improve on and how to handle my business better.
Robert Saleh said he's seen a different mindset from you. Just kind of how are you able to, put last year behind you and just put your foot forward for going into 2024?
I've dealt with adversity my whole life. Even before I even entered the NFL, in college and high school, I've always faced adversity, and so it's nothing new to me. And I think the biggest thing for me is just figuring out on how to adjust and how to adapt to the situations and stuff. So, like I said, this offseason, I moved down to Dallas, started working out at Sanders Fit. I saw that's where Derrick Henry was working out, and I was like watching his workout videos and seeing the success that he's had, especially at the running back position, for how healthy he stayed and the success that he's had. Whatever training he was doing has obviously been very, very successful for him. So I saw that, and it wasn't far from where I was living, so that's where I ended up working out at. And AJ Billings, Melvin Sanders, Vernon Johnson, the guys I was working with, very thankful for them and the time that they put in and the effort to help me get to the best shape I could be to go into this year.
You mentioned handle your business better. What do you mean by that?
Just being a pro, even amongst the adversity, even amongst the losses or, bad plays, of just remaining positive and to still be that that foundation to the offense and to the team of that I'm always someone that people can look to, that they can count on, and that they will know that will be consistent out there just as much as anyone else.
A couple times here in camp, I remember one specifically last week where you weren't on the field, but you pulled Kenny over to the side, and you were going. I don't know what specifically you were going over, but is that an example of that, where you're trying to step up and even?
I've always tried to be a player's coach as much as possible. I really love this game, and I study it, whether it's been offense, defense, or special teams, and I've played pretty much every position going back to high school, besides the O-line, D-line. So I feel like I have a lot of experience, and I didn't end up being where I am right now by accident. And so any tidbits or nuggets I can give guys for them to be successful or for the team to be successful, I'm always going to be vocal about that. So the incident you were speaking about was we had a drive concept on, which is a basic and a shallow. I had the shallow, and Kenny was coming over, and I was expecting him to pick my man, and he didn't end up getting. He worked more vertically than more horizontally, and where I was expecting him to be. And so we didn't end up getting the perfect mesh. And that could be, the difference between getting a incompletion, a first down conversion, or an explosive that could be a touchdown, just off the little details like that. And so he actually, I think, came up to me and was just kind of talking about the situation. So he said the next time he had the same thing later that practice, and it ended up, he took what I gave to him as pointers and stuff, and it said it worked very well. So that's just something I'm always going to do, regardless if I'm on the field or not. It's just, I want to see everyone get paid, everyone be successful, and ultimately I want to see this team finish with the Lombardi Trophy this year. So I'm going to do whatever I can.
What was your reaction when they went out and signed Mike Williams, who stature-wise is a very similar receiver to you? What was your reaction when they did?
I was like, hell yeah. Mike Williams is a great player. He's someone I've always kind of watched back in college, in his time in Los Angeles as well. He's obviously was a high draft pick. He's gotten a second contract, and he's earned this contract as well. For him to get the money that he got, especially after an injury year, just shows you on how much his value truly is to this team and everything. So I sit next to Mike in meetings, and him and I have developed a pretty good relationship so far, and just trying to help him advance along the offense as much as possible without him being out there to get those reps and stuff. So him and I are always communicating, talking, and I can't wait to take the field with him.
Robert mentioned that you made a concerted effort to be involved on the special teams. Like, what made you want to get back in the mix over there?
I walked in, I was on the depth chart there, and so just by the rule of my contract and stuff and not wanting to be fined, I showed up. So anytime I'm out there on the field, I take a lot of pride in, not only my last name, but the body of work that I put out there. So if I am out there on special teams, I'm going to make sure that I put good film out there and to be an example and to show the younger guys what it looks like, even though I am where I am in my career and I'm, still expect to be a valuable starter on this team, that if I'm able to do this, then you guys are able to too.
Which role, especially which unit?
Say it again?
Kickoff or punt, what do you like doing?
Right now I'm on punt, KOR, kickoff. I'm a 3 on punt return, so we'll see where that ends up and everything. But that's just depths. I think early on in the preseason and camp are just experimental.
What was the low point for you last year?
Every loss. I'm a sore loser, and I like to win. And I came here not to have individual success, but to take this organization to heights that it hasn't seen. And so that was kind of just the disappointing just at the end of the season of knowing that last game was going to be our last game and not that we were going to be playing the next weekend in the playoffs and having that opportunity to go play in Vegas. And was it Vegas this year? Yeah. To play in the Super Bowl and to raise the Lombardi trophy. So that's always been my dream and goal every single season. I've yet to have the opportunity, and so that's still going to remain the same.
I feel like that from an individual standpoint, Aaron knows what you can do. Like you played with him. Is there some sense for you to kind of reprove yourself in that sense to him on the field and to this team that signed?
I think the biggest thing is just to prove myself right. I think there's always a lot of external pressure that you receive in this field of work that we're in. But I think the biggest thing is just focusing on proving myself right. I know what I'm capable of doing. I've done it before multiple times for continuous years, and I know there's still new heights out there for me to reach. So, I come into this season expecting this to be my best year as a professional, and that's just kind of my mindset.
Did you feel pressure last year to get the contract, new team? Did that contribute at all to your struggles?
I think there's a lot of things that you could pinpoint on what led to my individual or team struggles. I think at the end of the day, those are just opinions, and it's not to say one is right or one is wrong. So I think there's a multitude of things that factored into the way that last season went and everything. And regardless, it was last year, and we're here today, day 5 of practice and stuff. It feels like 5,000 already, especially with the heat and humidity. But last year is last year. There's no reason to still be focused on that at all, and to look forward.
What do you envision your role being in this offense?
Consistent, a third down converter, a red zone scorer, a lead blocker. I think whatever the coaches and whatever my teammates need of me, I don't think there's a one hat or one cap that I wear for my job.
You seem like you're a player that always had a bit of a chip on your shoulder. I know you said last year was last year, but how much do you want to stick it to people and doubters that prove them wrong too as well?
Yeah, once again, I think there's a good saying is that you don't take advice from people, or you don't take criticism for people you want to take advice from. So, kind of having that same mind frame of like, I'm not here to prove anyone wrong, but just to prove myself right. And I have high expectations for myself this year, this season, and for this team as well. So at the end of the day, wherever this team ends up going is where I'll be as well. And whatever I can do to contribute to that is something I'll be very, very satisfied with.
Aaron is known as a pretty demanding guy, keeping people accountable. So we saw him in practice today. Obviously, there was some sloppy moments throughout practice. What was he like out there today? We just seemed kind of demonstrative, maybe a little hot under the collar.
Yeah, I wouldn't say demonstrative is a good word for him. I think it's just you're talking about one of the best, if not the best, quarterback of all time. And his standard and level of play is something that a lot of guys haven't even seen yet. And even this organization, they haven't really been with him on a game day, because being with him on the sideline on a Sunday is different than being with him on camp or being with him in preseason or being with him throughout the week. When the cameras are on and the bullets are flying, everyone's is just a little bit more turned up a little bit. So he obviously expects the same standard that he holds himself to out of everyone else, and today just didn't resemble that at all. I think as an offense we were just a little bit sloppy at first. Obviously I started off with the second play of the team period with a tip pass that led to an interception, and then things kind of just rolled downhill. Then Gary ended up catching a pass for a big completion, I think a period or two later, and that's kind of when we got back into the groove of things. So all in all, there's no bad reps, there's no bad periods. I think it's a great teaching moment for us of just learning how to handle adversity, because there's going to be times this year where we may come out and we're down 7 or we're down 14 and it's going to the second quarter, or maybe we're down 14 going to the fourth, and we still have to have that belief in ourselves and as individuals and as a whole that we're still going to come out of that game with a win. So today is just another day in the books.
You retired the soccer ball? You retired the soccer ball? We haven't seen it out there. Your warm up?
Yeah, it's taking a break for now.